Good morning to the beautiful fans out there after a nice 52-0 win. That felt like a throwback game. I wasn't sweating that one out. That was actually really nice and enjoyable. First things first, everyone, please like and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to that 10K spot. And then, of course, InsideTexas.com. You'll hear us plug it probably 40 more times this live. Go there and subscribe. That's the best team news, best recruiting updates, best opponent analysis, all in the market. That's the spot you want to be at. And then always, too, guys, super chats are appreciated. So send us your comments, ask us questions. We got guys with a lot of knowledge here. Take advantage of them. And I'll make sure that you guys get your questions answered that you want to know. And we are here with the one and only Eric, Nalin, and Coach Dub on here. But we call him Charlie. And on today's show, y'all, we are going to talk about upon rewatching, right? So rewatching the game. Normally, I get more nervous and notice more things. I felt better about this team actually rewatching, which is good. And then we will answer the question, is the run game an area for concern? Always, you guys can pepper us with your recruiting questions as well. And then we'll do kind of a very, very preliminary, not in-depth Michigan first look. So let's get started. All right. So first upon rewatching, let me pull up my notes and I'll kick us off and then you guys can kind of go. So something I thought was interesting was Quinn did not push it downfield. The only one that was considered a deep pass was that post to Bond, where Bond climbed the ladder and then he got hit by the safety or the linebacker, whoever it was, knocked it loose. So Sark didn't even really want to put anything on tape. So first question, is this clearly a secretive little trap that Sark's kind of suppressing our deep passing game for Michigan? Either one, go for it.
Normally they do that off the run game, and they weren't really super concerned about starting off the run. You know, it wasn't a typical game plan. You're right. It's all about run pass conflicts with Sark. We did see some really good play action, but it was more in the intermediate game. Saw plenty of RPO, but I wasn't surprised. I made note after the game that I think that was just a function of them not running the ball a whole lot. Not a concern. I actually liked it. Sark, and that one wasn't even a traditional deep route. That was more of a nice seam. Kind of a zone beater. It was close to being a very nice play, but yeah, you didn't see the typical deep ball. They weren't setting it up. They didn't need to.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely agree with that. Plus, you take in fact that Colorado State had their safeties pretty much like they were fielding a punt return. Man, they were playing deep, so you don't need to take a deep shot. Take what they give you. I think it's a good thing. Kind of work on your short medium game, man. You may need that later down the season. So I thought it was great, honestly. Just kind of work with what they give you.
Michigan's not going to play them like that, at least not to one side of the field. So, we'll see that. We'll see that this week, I think. But I would imagine, we'll get more to Michigan, but I think you're going to see more of the throw it to run it mindset from Sark.
But also, what a departure from earlier years where Quinn would throw it regardless, and then it felt like Sark was like over hunting that deep shot and trying to force it. So this year just showed me that both of them, both coordinator and quarterback, are much more comfortable there and didn't feel the need to try to prove anything there. And then second biggest point for me was the red zone domination. So 7 for 7. Our field goal was actually out of red zone range. So that's huge. And these concepts were not crazy. The little switch routes, that kind of stuff, like Golden getting open. If you rewatch that Golden play where Quinn threw that incredible angle on that out, I loved Bond's play because Bond, it's a pick route, but Bond just jumps and shoves the corner as hard as he can, and then he starts his route. And it showed me some good stuff with Bond too. He's game. And so that was important. It wasn't super crazy stuff. We were just actually executing the stuff that we didn't do last year. So how'd you guys kind of feel about the red zone? I know it was 100% efficiency, so I'm sure you felt good.
I think last year was an anomaly. Honestly, they got in a rut, didn't know really what to do to get out of it. They had some issues with the offensive line. I just think it was a run of bad luck. I predicted this year it wouldn't be an issue, kind of a regress to the mean. They were really good in red zone the year before. That's traditionally Sark has been good in red zone. So I think it was overblown. And normally when Sark has issues, the first thing they do that offseason is correct them. And we saw that on the defensive side of the ball. We've seen that before. Throughout Sark's tenure, if he struggles with something, it becomes a strength. And I expect that, like we wrote in one of the last preseason reports we wrote, covered how aggressive Sark was, or how competitive Sark was. And he knows the talk about him struggling in the red zone, and he wasn't going to let that fly go into this season. So I expect it to remain a strength for the season, just like I expect the other weakness that they had last year, the secondary coverage, to be a strength this season as well.
Yeah, Homer. I didn't expect it to be something extra needed like design. I think you go with your most simple things that you're really, really good at. Just work on those in the red zone, and they work. You know what I mean? Regardless of the opponent, Sark had a plan on what he wanted to work on, like Eric just said, and they executed at a high level, 7 for 7. You can't beat that in the red zone. So it doesn't have to be anything overly complicated. I can't talk this morning, but just go with what you're good at. You can tell they worked on that, right? Quinn was comfortable throwing to a spot. And in the running game, the RPO, everything is working. He got the no-look pass in the red zone. So, man, they repped this over and over and over, and they were comfortable.
I was surprised by the transfers, man. Golden Bond looked very comfortable. And even when they were doing combination routes working together too, like, I was impressed with them.
If you looked at one of the Aggie issues, they were the passing game, the timing was terrible. The timing and spacing in the passing game was horrendous. You juxtapose that to what Texas had. The spacing was great, the timing was great. It gave you, watching the Aggies play later that night, gave me a greater appreciation for just the sort of clockwork that we saw from the offense. But I was also happy, Stephen Shell. Normally, you've got to account for Texas performance, the other team's performance, and then the referee performance. You didn't have to do that today. It'll be nice to be out of the SEC. Sark mentioned that in the offseason, that they got more calls on the road in Tuscaloosa than they did anywhere else in the Big 12 all last year. Hopefully that remains a theme. We appreciate you for that super chat, buddy.
Yeah, we got a holding call early in the game, and that was super awesome because normally they come on us. And it was Kevin Marr last night for USC LSU.
Oh, he's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
I was having some serious flashbacks there, but I was impressed. Need a quicker start, and Jake needs to clean up snap infractions. Other than that, pretty solid performance. I'll go real quick on the snap infractions. I agree. But I was talking to Eric before. This is such a motion-heavy offense. I kind of feel like that's the cost. You have that many guys moving behind centers. They're stalling out, that kind of stuff. It's loud. I feel like when you're doing that much stuff in the backfield, you're going to end up kind of false starty, some snap infractions versus a team that's super static. After whoever wants to jump in, but Coach, I
also had that snap issue. I think it hit Juan Davis when Arch was in there on that goal line right before his little improv play. So there was poor timing on that play as well, which kind of ties into what Homer's saying here with the timing of all the movement, pre-snap movement is going to affect things. But I think, oh man, I'm glad there wasn't a camera on me when those happened, because it's, you're at home, 40 something starts, it shouldn't happen because the chance that happens, if you're seeing it in a game like this, you're more likely to see it in a playoff game or conference championship or Red River shootout. So he's got to clean that up, man. You can't have that. No excuses for that. He wants to go be a pro. He wants to go play in the NFL. There's going to be a whole lot of movement and all that stuff going on behind him if he's playing in the NFL as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to wonder if he has like an internal clock. He thinks when the ball should be snapped, like he's in his mind, like, hey, by this time, usually in practice, I'm snapping. But like, at this point, you got to kind of work those kind of issues out. I don't care if it's, staying after practice and doing it, just you and Quinn and in the offense, just being out there on the field, just continue to rep it, because I guess this is year 3, and we still got, 1 or 2 a game. So just kind of clean it up, man, and work with your quarterback. You know what it sounds like. You know when he's really calling the cadence and when he wants you to hike the ball. Just kind of work that out.
Year 4. It's year 4. The Bobby Bowden win big year. This one here from Wayne Watson is good because it kind of ties into something I wrote this weekend about the Texas's second team would probably be ranked in the top 25.
Yeah.
If you went position by position, I'm not even being hyperbolic here. Arch Manning would be your quarterback, and he would be one of the best quarterbacks in the top 25, right? I mean, there's not a lot of drop off between Quinn and Arch. So you saw that first play that Arch came in on the move, just ripped one right to Jonte. I mean, that not a lot of quarterbacks all day Saturday made that play. So right off the bat, your second team quarterback is better than most in the top 25.
Wide receiver, you got Wingo, Cook,
Your wide receivers are better than your second team wide receivers are better than most team starters. Do you think Michigan is Michigan gave up some yards? They almost 100 yards to that one guy for Fresno State, 6 catches for 97.
Yeah.
That guy's not as good as Texas's second teamers, or at least not as talented. So I mean, Trey Wisner, your second team running back, we saw him. He shot out of a cannon every time he touches the ball. The offensive line would be, there's still Cole Hudson, Neto. It would be an okay offensive line, not great. It'd be better than the offensive line Texas fielded in 2021.
Absolutely.
Defensive secondary, we saw guys making plays. Derek Williams, Leon Lafau, linebacker, Maurice Blackwell, linebacker. Those are your second team linebackers. Those guys are better than the linebackers they had in 2021. I think that the second team would be a top 25 team, and it's crazy to say.
Nah, that's an excellent point, man. There was so much talent. I think we talked about it all offseason, the quality of depth that Texas really has across the board. Like, somebody has to come in. You're not going to miss a beat whatsoever at a ton of positions. And most teams don't have that. That's a national championship roster. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm just saying that's a national championship type roster where you can just.
It is. That team can win the national championship. There's no doubt about it. A lot of things have to come together. You still need some good luck. No matter how good you are, you still need some good luck. The ball has to bounce your ways in tight situations. But that's a team that can win the Natty. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, we're on a new plane. Like, just looking at the roster now, it's like, all right, this is a different thing than we've seen in quite some time. Is there concern Colorado State wasn't enough of a challenge and UT players will be overly confident? They were enough of a passing game challenge. We just shut them down. I mean, they had the 5th most passing attempts last year. I mean, they were that quarterback. There's a reason he almost got poached. He has a good arm. Charlie played against him. He's a good quarterback. We made them look really bad. Torrey Horton is first round NFL receiver, early second. And I mean, these are real dudes. I know we made them look like they weren't a challenge in the passing game, but they're legitimate in the passing game. I don't know about the defense. Not sure about that. So maybe. But as far as their passing game,
look at the spelling of this guy's name. I think I've been making a mistake these past 40-something years. I might have to change the spelling of my name to that. I like that, Eric.
Yeah.
Phonetic.
No, you don't want a total patsy. You don't want to play a D2 school. I like the way this game's set up because, as Homer mentioned, you're going to test your weaknesses from last year, their strengths versus your weaknesses from last year, and Texas just kicked their tail. So I think it was a good matchup. Obviously it's not the greatest to get ready for Michigan just because the styles are so different. You would want a team that runs it more if you're looking specifically to get ready for Michigan. But I'm not too worried about that. On the flip side, Michigan can't throw it. So Michigan's a bad team to get you ready for a lot of the ones they'll see in the SEC later. So I think it's a fine opponent. You can't really map it out years in advance to be ideal. It was a good matchup.
I have a play on this, Eric. UT players be overly confident. So Texas opens up a 6.5 point favorite over Michigan away. Texas is used to being the hunted every Big 12 team, right? Everyone hates Texas. But now we're kind of coming into a different thing now. We're favorited over the good teams in that tier. The typical boring question, but it's like psychologically, is it good for Texas to be the favorite here? How do we handle that? All the typical media questions in the room. I heard Jade Barron immediately was like, hey, we won the game, start on your recovery. So it seems psychologically like we're there, but we're kind of moving into a new strata now where we're like, not fearing Michigan.
No, they're gonna walk in expecting to win, but it's been that way since they beat Alabama on the road last year. Not overconfident. I think they might have been a tad overconfident against OU, honestly. They didn't match intensity coming out of the tunnel that OU had, and then had a couple turnovers and then realized they were in a fist fight. I think they're still going on the road to Michigan. Michigan is still a physically tough team with a good defense. There's no way they should be going in there, too confident, but they should be in there going in there with the confidence that they can win. They just got to execute right, match the physicality, which I think they will do. And they got a lot more playmakers than Michigan. A whole lot. That's putting it mildly. And Texas has a much more well-rounded team than Michigan. There's been so much turnover. That's another thing I wrote about yesterday is Texas has a foundational advantage going in against almost everybody they play in that they're returning their head coach, both coordinators, and their starting quarterback. And a lot of these teams haven't. And Michigan's the exact opposite. Tons of turnover. Brand new quarterback who's, we'll talk a little bit more about him, but Texas has a lot of advantages. They should be confident going in that game, but not overconfident. You got to take everybody seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
And, we're definitely going to talk a lot of Michigan here at the end. But first, y'all, let us hear a word from our sponsor.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, Trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
Thank you, LC. We keep them backstage and we bring them out just for that, and then we put them right back.
He puts me to sleep. I'm about to climb back in bed.
Yep. Well, one question. I get this 1,000 times. Is this why Homer hasn't posted anything? He's on here. Awesome. Hook 'em guys for a great thing. I'm working on a Michigan breakdown. You guys will see it. But the fans have been after me, man. DMs, everything. Working on Michigan breakdown.
I mean, it's nice to be in demand. People aren't hitting me up left and right for more content, so you should feel appreciated.
Yes. Thank you, guys. But you will see it later this week, probably on Thursday. I'm working on it in the evenings, so y'all will see something here in a little while. All right. How about Juan Davis?
Wan Davis.
Yeah, Juan Davis.
Oh, man. It sounds like one of the characters from what's that movie with Bruce Leroy?
Yeah.
Enter the Dragon.
Yeah. I thought he looked good too. I like Juan Davis. Yeah, I remember when I was doing his recruiting video a couple years ago. He would make some awesome plays, man. Running at quarterback, jumping up and mossing dudes in the red zone. Yeah. So awesome athlete for the position. I'm excited that he's finally kind of breaking through and getting, being a well-rounded tight end too. They have him blocking and all that, not just having to be flexed out. So what did y'all think of Juan?
Definitely earned his reps and everything he's getting so far, man, this season.
Yeah, he looked good. I'm curious to see if he has like a true breakout or if he becomes like that really important cog in the offense that might go a little underappreciated, but he's still really important. I think he's going to have some pretty big moments for the team this year. Like seeing him catch that ball out in the flat and get upfield. He's going to be a good player for him. It's a matter of now, does he break out or is he, just kind of a really valuable piece?
Yeah. And then this, I did watch Sadir as well. How'd he look to me? He looks big, but he's still got a ways to go.
He was getting pushed, and then they were just letting him take his momentum out of the play. A few times I watched him. He was getting a push, but yeah, he's a work in progress. 2024 is about 2025 for that guy, no matter how many times you ask.
Yeah. You're correct. He did look enormous. You can't avoid him. Whenever you see, you're like, oh, Sadir's in.
Yeah, you didn't need to know what number it was or anything.
Yeah, you're just like, that's about half the defense. Let me see.
What about this one? DeAndre Moore, I guess. If you say I thought he was looking good during practice, I mean, he got the start. So that tells you don't have to think about anything. You don't have to say, oh, we got inside information, said he had a good August. You know that he started in that room. So that tells you right off the bat that he had a good August. He had a quiet game. They have 6 wide receivers, 7. Niblett got a carry. Niblett got 2 carries, right? One on a swing and then one up the gut. They've got 6 wide receivers. There's going to be games where Isaiah Bond probably doesn't have as big of an impact, or Matthew Golden goes a little bit quiet. Silas Bolden did he only have 1 catch? That one on the improv touchdown from Arch. So there's going to be games you can't. Not all 6 wide receivers are going to have big games. I'd love to see it. They'll all be involved to varying degrees, but I wouldn't hold one game against DeAndre Moore. We know without a shadow of a doubt he had a good August because he was starting amidst a very talented wide receiver group.
Exactly.
Who are the most? Oh, you go with that one.
Yeah,
what stood out to me was true freshman leading in rushing yards and receiving yards.
Yeah, I wrote that. Of course, part of that was they're playing in the second half a lot, right. But it was still good to see. Jarrett Gibson, man, he was really fun to watch. I rewatched him a couple times. And, the comparisons we had to him coming into the season was stylistically, not just like he's going to be that player long-term, was Frank Gore. And you could kind of see that as he skips out, skips back inside, gets downhill fast. Just has a really good feel as a running back and then has good power when he's going downhill. Really like that. And then Wingo is just a chaotic machine after he gets that catch, man. They're spinning him around. He's a whirling dervish. Big old athletic guy. It was fun to watch. And yeah, Wingo is Wingo's special. We're not surprised by that. And Jarek was more ready to play than CJ Baxter was brought up. Of course, we weren't surprised by that. So it's just a talented. And again, this goes back to what I'm saying. The top 25, the second team, Texas Longhorns would be a top 25 team in this season. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
unfortunately, Blue dropped a couple of passes. What I really liked is when he dropped one, Sark went right back to him.
Yeah,
and that's even a theme. He first did that, I noticed, with Worthy back in Worthy year one. Whenever he muffed that punt and went right to him, I like Sark's way to keep his players engaged, because a lot of time now Sark, if you run the wrong route, he will take you out. But like if you just drop or something like that, I've always appreciated that. He shows confidence in guys, and he'll go right back to him. He doesn't let him sit there and brood on it, and get down. I always appreciate that. And I think Blue, there's a part of Blue. I remember in the spring game when that safety was coming over and he was trying to catch on the sideline. He was like, nope. Just made a business decision. Blue, when he's on those rails, man, he's a little too aware that somebody could be coming.
Well, the problem with that one was he double caught it. If he catches it clean the first time, he's going to come out. The defender's not going to get to him in time. And then the second one was just he's just looking to make a big play after the catch. But those drops are uncharacteristic. He does have good hands.
He does.
We saw Jatavian Sanders have some bad drops earlier in his career, and nobody questions his hands. So I think Blue's going to be fine. You would much rather have those drops in week 1 against Colorado State than week 2 against Michigan.
You remember when Brooks was dropping key ones early last season, and then look what he was able to do.
Yeah, it happens to those guys that see so much green in front of them. Or they see a defender in front of them, one of the two, right? So they got to either make a guy miss, or their eyes get so big they're about to score.
Yeah,
exactly what it is. He's looking down. Okay, I got to make this move after this catch. Who's coming? Where's my window opportunity to take off after I catch it? So I think Blue will be fine as well, man. He has excellent hands to me.
Yeah, Ashley, I like how they use Colin Simmons. So did I. They were manning him up on dudes going to the flats. He was making tackle. It was interesting how they used Colin Simmons. They allowed him to actually be a space player in a lot of ways.
They haven't. So the Buck is Ethan Burke is not really what they're looking for in the Buck, and he played there almost all of last year because he's not quite the player that you want in space. Now he's a good athlete for his size, but they do want to use that as not just a defensive end, but also an outside linebacker. Yeah. And Colin has that. So Colin is like the first guy that they've actually gotten. Billy Walton could ended up being that. He fit at least stylistically, but not exactly. He's not the player that Colin is, but he's actually what they want out of that position. Somebody that can drop, make the quarterback think about it more. He just allows other players to make plays while he's dropping. They're going to bring pressure from somewhere else. So he actually fits what they're looking for. They haven't really had that. Ovie Agufo wasn't that, not a pass rusher. Ethan Burke, like I said, is more of a jack defensive end, the guy that position that Barron Sorrell plays. So they actually have the right fit in Colin Simmons. So his usage was interesting. He looked really comfortable out there. That was my main takeaway.
Yeah, same here, making tackles. And you don't want a 6'8" dropper in Ethan Burke. You want somebody with a little bit more. Now he's gonna be able to bat it down from like 15 yards away, but yeah, that was always weird seeing a guy that big try to drop into the boundary. Was the 3 high safeties a surprise to see? I liked it. Definitely different from the past. So did we? I didn't look at personnel when we did it. Is that our dime? Or did we go into dime? And
they were in dime in that. A couple months ago, or maybe it was probably July. I guess I said they're installing some things. We're not going to talk about it too much online. On YouTube, obviously. I was surprised that they ran it out.
So was I. Why would you show that versus Colorado?
Well, now, I mean, there's 2 sides of the coin, right? Do you want to catch a team totally off guard? Or do you want them to spend time preparing for it, and then you might not even run it? So there's always that trade-off. What do you do? We know what they decided on. They want to put it on tape, make quarterbacks think about it, make offensive coordinators prepare for it. But yeah, there's even more. There's plenty more looks in the bag too that they'll break out. It's good to see, right? You wish, maybe one game too late.
I love it, honestly. And you got to get reps at doing it versus past situations, right? Because people need to know where the spots are, where they're dropping to. And so you need some in-game reps. I'm sure they've done it in practice a ton of times, but you need some in-game reps running that defense. We've seen people trying to mirror and copy it and not be successful at it, right? So go ahead and get some reps in a real game situation and prepare the guys who are using it. I love seeing it. I'm so happy that we have it in our arsenal now.
Yeah, it's nice to know that it's there. Now we're going to be able to figure out, which games you're going to see more of it. Probably Mississippi State, you'll see more of it. So now it's going to be fun to telegraph. But the sort of the disheartening part is we see this really good secondary, and I don't see a passing attack on the schedule until until Mississippi State that you have to worry about, right? We got all these shiny new toys. They're playing well.
Yeah.
Bring us a quarterback. I want to see them challenged. It's not going to happen this week, but it'll be a different type of challenge. This next question leads right into the type of challenge that Michigan presents.
What do y'all think personnel looks like when we go heavy on the box to stop that Michigan run game? Paul was talking a lot about this going into our 3-4 stuff, getting a Sam on the field. I mean, you're going to have to because they don't have receivers, man. They have the tight end, but like they don't have anything outside.
Tight end's really good. The tight end's going to be one of the best players on the field.
He's the top tight end in the class. He's awesome. But
the depth chart gives away what they're going to do. They'll have Bill Norton at nose or one tech, and then he'll have Alfred Collins will be one defensive end, Vernon Broughton a defensive tackle, and then you'll have Barron Sorrell out there, and then of course you'll have Sam will be Trey Moore. So that's basically what they're going to be. That's their base defense, anyways. I'm sure they'll have some other looks that they'll change it up, and you'll probably see more of those safeties crashing down in the box. Michael Taft had a good game, so. Michael Taft, you might have to consider him a box defender for this game. I'm not sure that they're going to need two safeties back deep. So this is a pretty straightforward way to defend Michigan. Quarterback was not really going to put a lot of fear in anybody. Wide receiver skill player is not going to scare anybody. Tight end is the one that you really got to watch. Jalen Gilbert's going to have a fun matchup there.
They have Samaj Morgan in the slot. So basically, Warren, if it's in breaking, he'll hit it. But they're not interested outside. So you can totally load the box. You can stay one-on-one with their outside guys. It's going to be – and I like – the crazy part is I like our pass rush in our base because we still have Trey Moore on the field. We still have Alfred Collins on the field. Both of our linebackers can blitz. So even though it's a kind of our run set, we still have the ability to in the pass game with that group of people.
Broughton's good for a couple flushes. He's going to flush the quarterback a time or two for sure.
Yeah,
a couple Saturday. I think we would probably see some bear front, like Eric alluded to in the depth chart. You can kind of see how they're going to play. It might be a 5-man front, the old 50 defense that people ran in the 90s, man. But hey, whatever you got to do to stop the run, I think this would be a
Michigan has a real fullback.
And everybody else, I think, you put him right over the center, man. You disrupt everything. And with the consistency non-consistency that Michigan has on the front O-line they have this year, given that center problems from the jump, man, it's going to be hard. But I think
you know who could have a monster game for Texas is Barron Sorrell. You saw him playing that outside run really well on Saturday. He could have a monster game as they try to widen out the run gaps, create as many run gaps as possible. Barron Sorrell's a dark horse for a potential defensive MVP.
Gunner and Benda impressed me, as did Jarrett Gibson, who looks natural in his cuts, maximizing his run opportunities.
Gunner looked pretty good out in space, didn't he?
He did. I love it.
But see, that's the problem is like watch him at Cherry Creek, man. He's great on a seam. We typecast him that he can't be vertical. And it's like for years, I'm like, dude, sneak him up the seam and he's gonna do good.
It's coming. It's coming. You can see it. I'll tell you, I always go back to what I saw him at a high school. You know, he posted videos of him doing a backflip at like 6'5", 230. And it was like not one of those barely landing. He just landed solidly on his feet.
Yeah.
And then you see him striping a golf ball right down the middle of the fairway with a beautiful swing. Somebody that big to be that coordinated, you're like, oh, this guy's going to the NFL. If he just has any balls, he's gonna. If he's gonna be physical, he's going to the NFL. Yeah. And we're seeing that. And he made that guy miss in the open field. I like that. Picked up some extra yards. Yeah. And then I think one of Quinn's misses was to Gunner where he was downfield. I was like, I couldn't believe Gunner was down the field that far. Yeah. Pretty good player. We've been saying it for a year and a half now that Texas coaches expect Gunnar Helm to get drafted, and then Benda had a really good game. He blew up that one guy, but he was actually the most steady linebacker when it came to run fits. I thought Anthony Hill missed a big one early, where that guy got like 10 yards or whatever it was, 12 yards. But yeah, Benda looks good. That's what you expect out of somebody. He's in his 6th year, right? 5th year, 6th year.
Yeah, and 5th, yeah.
Yeah, you expect that. So.
And we already talked Jarrett Gibson. Yeah, a little bowling ball, running with heart.
Damn, my man.
That's a trip. Is Orgy enough of a scrambling threat would limit our upfield pass rush? He's a scrambling threat in that he'll take off and run for 30, but he's not going to scramble, bring people down, and then hit the deep ball over the top.
You shouldn't have an upfield pass rush if he's at quarterback.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Straight safe rush, contain. That's it.
We might as well get into it. Let's hit it. Can Michigan defense match up with Texas offense? Yeah. Well, so Will Johnson, man, got cooked a little bit. Now he made the play that basically sealed the game, but they went man one time with Johnson, and he's a first round corner, guys. He's an incredible corner. But I don't. These matchups are going to be interesting with Texas wide receivers. Can they match up in the run game? Yes.
Yeah, they can match up. There's just too much. And you guys watched that game closer than I did, but I did keep an eye on it. I was too busy watching Notre Dame A&M. I've got it. I'll watch. I've got Michigan recorded. I'll watch it tonight. But Texas just has too many athletes to spread defenses out. Look at how much space those guys had. The open receivers, and Quinn was hitting them right on time. They have too many lapses in the secondary. Michigan, they don't have the same athletes they did once, and I think Texas's pass rush, pass protection, is going to be good enough against Michigan. Running the ball is going to be tough early going, but that won't be Sark's plan. Sark's going to throw it to open up the run. I think it's not like Texas is going to hang 40 on them or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get in the upper 20s, and it's going to be tough for me to see Michigan getting up in the upper 20s. So
I mean, their whole defensive line are pros, so that's the tricky part. So like pass rush, like Josiah Stewart, I mean, that's a good player. So it's like, is Quinn gonna? And Quinn has one of the worst pressure to sack rates historically. Like once they penetrate, Quinn does not do well there. So I mean, I think our receivers are going to win that matchup versus the secondary, but their pass rush is going to be real. Their interior pass rush is going to be very real. Quinn's going to have to be decisive. Kind of limit that dancing style that he can do those tippy taps sometimes, because that'll be an issue. But as far as like coverage, we're gonna have we got 6 NFL receivers, man.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. And you look at Fresno State playing against them last year, they got kind of the quick passing games. Jed Tefford, I know Coach Tefford retired, but it's kind of a West Coast system. Get the ball out quick, get you guys in space, kind of like what Coach Sark does, right? And so putting the guys in space versus Michigan DBs when they lost a ton, they don't have Mike Sarenstein still in the other corner. They don't have those guys. So I think Fresno State did a good job kind of spacing them out, getting the ball out quick. They only got Will Johnson, right? So I feel good with our receivers versus their DBs and out in space, man, making those guys miss and getting no feeling. We saw with the yards out the catch that we had against Colorado State. I think that is the motto and the culture that everybody has on the Texas offense now. So putting those guys in space, especially if they play a guy, Ricky Johnson, who I'm very familiar with, who's the corner at UNLV.
Right.
I think you see him, you probably just attack him all day. But, I mean, I like our chances versus their DBs and secondary, especially and quick passes.
Will Johnson gave up 2 ball, like legit, like he's good. But here's the thing with top corners, people get scared to ever test them, and they get lazy and they fall asleep. So every once in a while, you need to test those elite corners. Nothing crazy, but they can, once their reputation's out there, I mean, it's like they have to do no work. Like, test them,
you kind of saw him give the double move, the stop and go that he gave up.
Yeah, he can still throw his way. Don't be
double move.
Yeah,
and when it comes to their defensive front, I always go back to the Alabama game 2 years ago when everybody thought Alabama was going to wreck Texas' offensive line. Remember, it was Kelvin Banks' second start. Will Anderson's going to tear up the freshman and all that stuff. They had all kinds of tricks up their sleeves for that defensive line. They got zero pressure all day long. Texas should have won that game. I think this is a much more mature Texas. Obviously, the offensive line was light years beyond where it was then. Quinn is light years beyond where he was then. They're going to have all kinds of tricks up their sleeve to slow down that defensive line. I'm not super worried about it. And then there's just too much field. Will Johnson can't be everywhere at once. Right. I think Texas is going to throw the ball through the air. Fresno State found space. Texas is going to find space for sure.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Let me see. Let's see. Does we had here? Would you give our O-line the edge in pass or run protection against Michigan DL? Like we said, Eric said, every time I'm like worried about our offensive line and pass pro, they do a good job. And like I said, I think we're at least 3 NFL players on our O-line. I do not give us the edge.
All you have to do is stalemate them. That's all you have to do is stalemate and let the skill do its job.
But I do not give us the edge in run blocking versus that interior. That's the best interior in the country right now for the Michigan has.
Particularly against all the little games and stunts they do, I think we'll be fine.
That's 2 first round or at least first and second round. I mean, they're sweating Murphy again. And so I do not give us the advantage on the interior there. Those guys are the real deal on the interior for Michigan.
A stalemating is an advantage. They can't. Michigan can't win that game if it's a stalemate. I don't think.
Yeah. I just, as far as like climbing, and I like their linebackers too, man. So like on zone stuff, climbing to the second level, that kind of stuff in the run game, I'm gonna have to see that part. But I like us on in the old pass pro pretty well. So that was some good stuff, guys. But also now we will hear from our other sponsor, the one and only Laura Baker.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
We have two things here that I think kind of piggyback on each other. Tim Williams, Wink, Michigan, DC will try to rattle Quinn with blitzes. That's true. O-line and our young backs need to step up in pass protection. Good point. And then right after that, who is our best pass blocking running back with Baxter out? It was in camp. You said it was Wisner was the most willing, but did you? I honestly didn't really pay attention to pass pro from the backs that heavily this game. Did any of y'all kind of key in on that? How did we do?
I hear Wisner's the best, but I didn't really watch it either. He was getting the ball out so quick. I think they were dropping guys in the coverage too. That it wasn't really an issue that popped up on tape to me.
Yeah, I didn't see it during the game that they needed to. Honestly, they were kind of roaming in the backfield. Nobody to pick up because the offensive line pretty much handled it. So
it feels like theoretically Jarrett Gibson, man, because trying to run up on him.
But you don't want a freshman doing that because you got to read a lot.
100%. That's scary. But I just build wise, I feel like he's the one that would be scariest to try to run at.
I think Wisner's the best, and Wisner's he's just an all around football player. So he's gonna light into you up and coming up the gut. He's fearless. He packs a punch too. He's obviously a lot bigger. He put on some good weight. He was kind of spindly last year. This year he looked more like a running back. Last year he looked more like a slot receiver. This year he looked more like a running back to me.
Yeah. This is, and I'll do a show with Ian on Wednesday, guys, at 9:30, and Ian might be stronger here. How much of an effect did Nansen have on this defense? I didn't notice anything that I was like, oh, that's Nansen's fingerprints. Besides that damn sword, that turnover sword, which stresses me out, dude. Even when I was watching Arizona last year, they had like that game versus OU, right? They had like 5 picks, and they were doing that. I'm like, someone's going to get stabbed eventually. I know they dole it, but it's still enough to where I don't like the turnover swords, guys. It makes me nervous that someone's like going to cut their hand at DB we need. But I don't know about his actual influence. Did UNLV play him at all or anything last year?
No, we didn't. But I know Nansen just brings another level of communication and intensity to the guys. The linebacker room, like even in zone, you can see the linebackers actually getting depth in their drops, right? And they're playing zone, right? They closing down the windows and the passing behind them. And, last year it wasn't much communication. I can see like a level has really, really picked up of IQ of players and actually executing on the field, man. So I think he's brought that because he demands a lot, right? He puts a lot on guys, but they're executing so far.
What if Scotty Hazelton is the one that has an influence there? They brought in Hazelton. He's a secondary coach by nature. So I don't know the exact machinations of it. It's out there on tape. It's good. That Sark brought in guys that were going to not challenge PK, but you bring people in to collaborate. You just want the most amount of football experience and idea making that you can have. And they added 2 new minds. And as much as everybody loves Choate, he was kind of so similar to PK that it wasn't really that rival outside the box thinking. And they brought in a couple guys that see the game a little differently, and they're just taking what works and trying to put it together. So I think Hazelton probably has a lot of influence, but bottom line is, Terry Joseph, I wrote about this. Terry Joseph and Blake Gideon have been unfairly maligned for a couple of years now. I think when you look at what each guy inherited compared to some other coaches, PK was the narrative the first year. PK can't coach. I thought he coached all these ends at at Washington. I think if Texas fans take a look at how A&M responded to that first loss, you got to realize Texas fans sounded like that in Sark's first year.
You should have heard my meltdown on Twitter when we lost to Kansas, dude.
Oh yeah,
I was so emotional, dude.
There's still no excuse to lose to Kansas. There's I don't care. I don't care.
I was going through it, dude. I went back and read that like last year. I was like, man,
hey, that was Leipold's first year too. That was Leipold's first year. They went 2-10. There's no Texas fans are just they're off the hook on that one.
I fired everyone, every player, every coach, everyone was fired after that game.
Yeah, but so if you go back and look at who these guys inherited, Bo Davis inherited 6 NFL guys, and was like, Bo Davis is a great coach. Bo Davis inherited 6 NFL guys. That makes a difference on whether or not you're a good coach. And so they're slowly fixing these rooms. Jeff Choate did a really good job overhauling linebacker, and coming into this season, we're like, all right, they finally have the secondary to ball out. Yeah. Early returns are that they're going to ball out. They still have a lot more to prove, no doubt. But I think all these narratives Sark just slays all these narratives. Terry Joseph and Blake Gideon can't coach. Now all of a sudden, they were the best unit on the field on Saturday against the other team's strength. So
on the flip side, though, I actually they've incentivized us to complain. Because if we complain in recruiting or on the field, they fix it immediately the next year.
Yeah, they're paying attention to it, right?
They already know. It's because they already know themselves.
They're smart enough to realize, hey, we don't need to give up yards.
There have been
talking about defensive tackle recruiting, do everything, guys, because that means next year we're getting like 5 defensive tackle 5-stars.
Well, that's I have been complaining for 2 years now, going back to the year they took Sadir. I'm like, all right, where the rest of them?
Yeah.
Who else are they going to take out? This guy's great, but he's got a long way to go. But yeah, there have been years in the past where, like the mistakes the staff are making are glaringly obvious. Going into that year where they put Malcolm Roach at middle linebacker to play Maryland, I'm like, dude, this cannot work. I understand Anthony Wheeler's suspended for the first half, but that's not going to work.
Yeah,
they run so much horizontal stuff. There is Malcolm Roach, or playing Joseph Osai at off-ball linebacker instead of off the edge. Like, what is going on here, guys?
Yeah.
But Sark gets it. They don't. Our complaints don't need to be made because they're already on it.
Yeah, it would be funny if they were just on Twitter and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we got to work on secondary, guys."
Yeah. What did Scipio Texas write about this morning? Is there anything?
Exactly. That'd be awesome. I mean, I would love that for our egos, but I don't think they're listening to the show right now. Vosick looks hungry AF, like he wants to be on the field every play. It's a nice looking player as well, man. The projection on him is.
Yeah. So again, top 25 team on the second team is top. He's not even second team, and when everybody like at the end of the game, everybody like get so and so out of the game because he might get hurt. I was saying that about third teamers. I'm like, these guys are so talented. You got to play somebody. I'm like, what's Colton Vosick doing out there? They're up by 45. I'm like, they've got to play at some point, but. Yeah, that's Vosick is a future. I'll say at least second round draft pick. It sounds hyperbolic to say just because he's so young. We haven't seen much out of him, but we hear about a lot of stuff going on in practice. If you're already hearing about Ethan Burke on mock drafts for being a first or second round draft pick, and then you hear Vosick has more upside, and then you see the way he's built, right? The build, his own build is a confirmation bias. You'd think that guy's an all pro without watching him play once. He's a stud. So the third team would be ranked in the top 50.
Yeah, that's it. I love these takes. Third team top 50. Hey
man.
Let's see. Do we want to talk A&M or LSU, or do we want?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
I thought that's what we were here for.
Yeah. Man. So first off, Miller Moss, that's his name, right? The SC quarterback.
Yeah.
That dude's the real deal, man.
He's legit.
He was throwing some. What cycle did he come out of? Because he had interest in Texas, but we heard behind the scenes, but Texas already had their guy. Did he come out in 2021? Do you know?
Let me see. I can pull it.
I was about to look it up right now. Where did he ran?
We got back.
21.
Yeah. Okay. We got backtracked on him having interest in Texas, or back channeled, I should say, and didn't have room or whatever. But he's a good player.
And even though this picture is incredibly creepy, we need to do a little bit.
We need to match that picture with LC's ad spots.
Yeah, there we go. That's not we can maybe change that pic for old Miller Moss, help him out in that way. But that dude's a good player, man. And then Brian Kelly just kind of the lack of emotional control post game where he punches the table is just kind of like.
So he's mad at his team for being emotional in these situations,
and then he can't control his emotions.
Yeah. These guys got to keep their emotions in check as he breaks across the desk.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like he's doing a wrestling spot.
Yeah.
So our DirecTV, we have DirecTV stream because we keep have to move around.
Yeah.
They lost ABC yesterday, right before the game. So I went to a restaurant, watched the first half, but I couldn't justify having my kid out till 10 o'clock to watch that game. But it goes back to what I've said a lot of times. But Sark wants this professional culture. Guys behaving like they've been there, professional attitudes, professional mindset, and you juxtapose that against LSU. They're their own worst enemy. Sark comes up, they have Texas has 3 penalties, no missed tackles. LSU shooting themselves in the foot, can't keep their emotions in check. Coaches losing at the end of the game.
And LSU celebrations are also like there were 2 or 3 that were directly gun related. And
I know.
Like that, I was like, what are we doing, guys?
I know, gun related in Baton Rouge and New Orleans. It's just a little too on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah. And so I was like, come on, guys. Like, coaches got to tell you, like, we have every other celebration available. But I thought USC looked good, man. Their defense too, man, to hold LSU.
I say that.
As Lincoln Riley, man, he got maligned. I get it. But when it comes to like making plays late and like there's very few guys that scare me more than Lincoln Riley where he has a quarterback and he needs to get it in 2-minute drill. I mean, that's really where he shines. He's really brilliant there. And he showed that versus LSU. And of course, we want LSU and A&M to continue those losses because we're going to battle these guys on the recruiting grounds. And so any of those losses there are going to be beneficial to Texas. Oh, there we go, right?
Absolutely. Always. You want A&M and LSU to lose for a couple of reasons, one of them being recruiting.
Yeah.
Of course, LSU recruits that Texas wants. We're paying attention to that game, wondering about, Justin Wells was texting with a few of them, just getting the vibe, their thoughts of how everything was unfolding. But of course, you want them to lose for that. Texas is probably most direct opponents in this cycle. Probably next cycle, Texas wants to recruit Louisiana. Texas lost a couple. Texas has some narratives to overcome. LSU is negative recruiting some spots, defensive tackle and cornerback. But we'll see what the narrative at each position looks like for each team by the end of the year.
Yeah. And then the A&M game, a lot of people were picking A&M. I just felt like no one was really talking about Notre Dame's defense, which they have, and so it's like that they were all talking about A&M's defense, which they got dudes, but that was kind of the missing piece. And I thought Wigman just he looked anxious. And like the weird little, you saw the card trick clip with him that they put out.
No, I didn't see that.
You should watch it. It's
was that in front of the whole team?
Yeah, the one in the whole team where he refuses to participate in the card trick. But what was interesting about that, and I know I'm extrapolating, that seems like a nervous kid. He like immediately shut that down and didn't want to be in front of the team, and like so that you can extrapolate that a little further. That maybe you can psych him out a little bit, and he looked like that. What was interesting is all the bragging about their strength and conditioning hire. They looked tired, man. And I remember year one for us, I'm not going to lie, our year one, we looked exhausted too. That takes a little while to build, but I was surprised by them just not looking to be in shape either.
Well, he's got culture issues to fix. And, I wrote about the Aggies a little bit in my Sunday 6-pack about how A&M is kind of their own worst enemy. They lack patience, to put it mildly. They don't understand the big picture or playing the long game. If you juxtapose that versus the Texas Brain Trust, Kevin Eltife, Jay Hartzell, Chris Del Cane, when Texas went 5-7 in 2021, they just doubled down. Any boosters that were whining about Sark, they just shut them down. You want to help out, spend some NIL money. That was when NIL first started up.
Right.
Play the long game. So I know somebody in the ACC that knows Elko pretty well. And when he was hired, he said, look, they got a good coach that's hired a lot of good football coaches first. They're not recruiters first for the most part. They got a couple guys on there. But they're there to fix culture and build the team up the right way, which is what Sark did. And that source said he's really good if they get out of his way, but he thinks that the fans and the the A&M Brain Trust are going to be their own worst enemy. They're going to lack patience. They're going to hate it when they lose a 5-star recruit or when he passes on a 5-star recruit and goes after a 3-star. They're not going to be able to tolerate losses to the rivals, even though he's incrementally improving the program inch by inch. So the question that source had was whether or not he'd get enough time, not whether or not he'd do a good job.
But the great part is they took all of our allegations. Like the team that never lives up to their talent, and they got culture issues and booster issues. It's like, thank God that's off of us now, because that was just 10 years of like Texas perpetually underachieves. They got 5 stars, and we have shadow boosters controlling everything. And now it's just completely shifted to A&M, and we can like breathe.
Yeah, he had a big job fixing that culture. They brought in mercenaries, man. You know, you just buy these guys to come in and play. They don't really want to be there. That's why Sark, the first thing he does is, you know, he weeds out the people that don't want to be there. That's why, you know, NIL is not something that gets talked up until late in the recruits process. You know, who wants to be there first? Not you don't wave a bag of cash in front of them to get their attention. And so, you know, when they had Denver Harris was going to go back to take a visit to A&M, I laughed because he, you know, just got kicked out of LSU, and they were thinking about bringing him in for a visit. I said, all right, this is Elko's big test, man. If he gives into this and brings this kid in, it's not. I can tell right now. I'll tell you right now, it's not going to work out. But that guy's going to need some time. He's going to need to get his own recruits in. It's the same thing as Texas. That's why, you know, I wrote this thing that Bobby Bowden said. First you lose big, then you lose close, then you win close, then you win big. Texas is in year 4 of that. Texas A&M is in year 1 of that. And so we'll see if their fans and their administration has the wherewithal to stick it out. There's going to be some tough years, but if you have the right guy, but that's part of it. You got to identify whether or not you have the right guy. Florida's going through the throes right now. Every year looks like year 1. You know, you can't have a whole lot of year 1s. So Sark matched that template almost perfectly, where, you know, they lost big in year 1. The games were close, but they lost 6 in a row, and they lost 1 to Kansas, right? So that's losing big. And then they got a lot closer in year 2, 8-5. They had the close loss to A&M, the heartbreaker in Lubbock, and just the most improbable loss of all time. And then last year, of course, they started to win close. Those games were too close for comfort. And this is the year that Texas should win big. On that story arc, A&M is in year 1, and their fans are probably not going to handle it too well.
In year 5, you know you're elite because we're going to have everybody in Hellcat street racing. And that's when you know your program is there. That's the 5th step on the Bowden ladder of success. What was interesting about A&M too is like people were not talking like they were in their first year. You know, they're playing Freeman with some he had some continuity there, and people were talking like, well, A&M, because A&M has some first rounders that's automatically going to gel week 1 versus Notre Dame. And the fans, A&M fans, did it to themselves. They have some smart analysts that I watch on YouTube, and even I was like, guys, you're emotionally setting yourself up. This is game 1 versus Notre Dame. Why are you doing this to yourself? And then, of course, today they're all sad. But I'm just like, you guys could have played that smarter and been like, not saying that.
We got one of the funniest clips from the weekend was Damian George, offensive lineman for Florida. If you saw the clip on Twitter, it was number 7. He wants this game to be over.
Yeah.
Some of the worst effort you'll ever see on the football field. Damian, and you know what the problem with Damian George is? He's from North Shore. Kyle Flood recruited him to Alabama, washed out of Alabama, ended up at Florida. So this ties into DeAndre Robinson, who left for Florida after Bo Davis went to LSU. Yeah. And you could tell that the culture at Florida is trash. It is. Napier is in trouble because of that culture more so than anything, and they've got a long season ahead of them. You saw that guy flipping off the camera on social media, that Florida player. He had time he's either wearing that gold bracelet and playing football, or he had time to put that gold bracelet on and then realize he was mad about football. Yeah. Very weird. That locker room is not focused on football. I would not be surprised if you see an exodus. Now, I don't think Texas will go back after DeAndre Robinson. Once you leave Sark, he's tend to be like, all right, we'll see how it works out for you. I know how it's going to work out for me. We'll see how it works out for you. But I think DeAndre Robinson probably is looking around going, man, I listened to some really bad advice. People that wanted him closer to home. Man, that's why you love these parents like, you know, Jamie French. Like, we're just going to go to the stable, the sure environment. We know what's going on. We have proof of concept. Why we have this very talented player. Why would we introduce any new variables that we don't need to? DeAndre Robinson's people were probably not seeing the big picture there. And anybody from outside could see that Napier's in very, very deep trouble. What a odd decision.
Yeah, Napier make it to Austin with that schedule? Likely not. And this is the thing. I like Napier, man. I thought he was impressive what he did at Louisiana. I just don't know what went so wrong there for him. But what game is that? That's second. That's the back half of the season for us, right?
Yeah, that's that's after Georgia, right?
Yeah.
I don't have this. I'm like Sark. I don't know the whole. I don't have the whole schedule memorized.
We just focus on one opponent at a time. We don't look ahead.
Yeah, I think I could do. I could get the rest of this month if I can remember which Louisiana school comes to Austin. But Napier. So that'll get interesting. Do they want to? If it comes to that, do they want to let him absorb that hit of the last 5 weeks, or do they want to be able to make an excuse and say, "Hey, look, we fired a coach, we got to enter him."
Right.
They've got that brutal finish.
That's a political game. That's when all the big wigs start going like, look, we're going to fire them. And so we can sell hope the rest of the season. We can sell still having Lagway coming up. So I think you end up with the Game of Thrones.
Lagway and A&M, man. I know Bud Elliott's got that tweet out there. I was watching Lagway. If Lagway wasn't such a loyal kid, and of course Florida was very aggressive in making sure that he stayed committed.
Right.
Because he would fit really, really well in that Colin Klein offense.
I know. I hope he doesn't go there, man. I like Lagway, dude. That's a good quarterbap, man.
Really good.
That's a good kid too. So it's like,
Hey, another topic for a show is like who would be the upwardly mobile coaches that Florida would even want right now, or would they just go all after Lane Kiffin? Lane Kiffin gets brought up anytime there's an SEC opening, but Florida's in trouble, man. Florida's in trouble.
I mean, Napier was the upwardly mobile Alabama background program builder. I mean, I thought they made the right hire there too. That's the thing. So don't trust me in the coaching search because I thought that was the right decision. All right.
No, Napier was bad. We had a lot of info on that one. Like, why is LSU not going after him and all these things? And for all this, we heard that he's actually the comparison I got was Charlie Strong as far as like a program management. Organizational aspect.
I thought he just completely copied Bama. I mean, that was their whole Louisiana. They were calling mini Bama and all that. So I thought that he was just copy and pasting. Now you can try to recreate same organization, but how effectively do you do that? Real quick. Is this year's Michigan D-line better than last year's Alabama D-line?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Ain't no question about it.
Especially on the interior. I mean, yeah, especially on the interior. You could argue edges with Bama because they had Dallas Anderson, or not Anderson last year, but Dallas Turner
and Christian. What's his name?
Yeah. But on the interior, absolutely, Michigan's D line is better. And thank you, V Brown, for the super chat.
Lane Kiffin, man. Lane Kiffin.
Yeah,
dude, Lane might get there with Ole Miss too, which is
he's not going
to win it all. But I'm saying
you can build something real at Florida. Ole Miss, I think, is just going to be up and down a little bit, but we'll see.
The good news is Texas O-line is better than last year. Yeah.
More experience.
We'll see.
More reps.
I mean, definitely in age, got some pros. Everyone tries to copy Saban. Yeah, if you're going to copy someone, right? That's the guy. All right, y'all. Any kind of
what are we talking about? This guy had a number of good questions, and we'll keep receipts. We'll meet here.
He's arguing with some guy in the chat. Some guy named Jesus Saves is not personifying Jesus very well, but they've been arguing back and forth in the chat.
Well, now I need to see what Jesus Saves is talking about.
Definitely.
He was just saying that your top 20 second string top 25 is like sunshine pumping.
Oh, okay. All right.
So he was grumpy, but our boy C Gaddis, he's doing work for us in the chat. We don't have to defend ourselves. We got Gaddis.
I like that.
Doing his work. All right. Any quick recruiting things, anything like that from you two? Anything? Or we're good, smooth sailing. Let's get Michael Terry eventually whenever he announces, right? When is that going to happen?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that really it?
Oh man, my do not disturb just went off, and I got about 3,000 text messages in here.
Okay, well, luckily that's right on time. Make sure there's not any breaking news, but Good stuff, guys. I appreciate it. And then, of course, guys, we're doing these at 9:30 a.m. Monday through Thursday. Tomorrow, I will be on with Paul Wadlington. That's much more like deep dive Michigan focused. So we're going to be talking more in depth, all about Michigan. And Paul's insights are always awesome there. And then, of course, I'll have mine. I'm finishing the breakdown recording this evening. But thank you guys so much for watching. Always go sign up for InsideTexas.com. That's where you can get constant updates on the team, on recruiting, opponent analysis, all that stuff. But thank you everyone for watching and have a wonderful day.